So Taylor, we're ready?
Ready, going.
All right. Hello everyone, and welcome to a recorded information session with ISANS. In this session, we'll focus on the onboarding employer engagement supports available. And I'd just like to thank James Rumble for joining us today for this session.
Thank you.
The Valley Wren is recording these sessions to help businesses in the region understand the wealth of workforce supports that are available to them. And certainly our region, the province of Nova Scotia and Atlantic Canada as a whole is facing labor shortages. We know that a study from the Business Development Bank of Canada showed that half of the businesses they surveyed reported difficulty in recruiting. And a recent study by the Canadian Manufacturers and Exporters showed that in Atlantic Canada, 62% of manufacturers here expect to experience labor shortages in the next 5 years. And I'm sure we've all heard that Atlantic Canada has an aging population, so we can expect approximately 230,000 people to retire in Atlantic Canada within this decade. We've also experienced a lot of migration. So in the Valley region, we're really happy that we have a connector program. And also joining us for this session is the Valley Connector Program's coordinator, Taylor DeVries. So thank you so much, Taylor.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks. And with the Connector Program, that's a program that helps to retain some of our very talented recent post-secondary graduates. So we also know that within our region, there is a tremendous opportunity to grow our communities through immigration. And so that's why we're really happy to have James with us to explain how he provides supports to employers here in the Annapolis Valley. Thanks, James.
Thank you very much. So I'm just going to click back one screen, if that's all right, to do the land acknowledgement.
Thank you.
So we acknowledge we are on unceded traditional Mi'kmaq territory, and we are grateful for the peace and friendship treaties. At ISANS, as we work to settle newcomers to Nova Scotia, we honor and respect the Indigenous people of this land. I'd like to add as well that a lot of the newcomers to Nova Scotia are also Indigenous people themselves, coming from other parts of the world. So that's something to keep in mind when we talk about First Nations and Indigenous peoples. So thank you for the lovely introduction. And I've been at this position for a year now, and extremely happy to have a wonderful working relationship with the Valley Wren, and I can speak to a lot of the good things that they're doing as well. So thank you for that introduction. ISANS is the Immigrant Services Association of Nova Scotia. We are Atlantic Canada's largest settlement provider organization. Our vision is a community where all can belong and grow, and our mission is helping immigrants to build a future in Nova Scotia. Earlier, Rochelle, you spoke about the retention issue. That is one of the reasons that my position was created, because Nova Scotia historically has had issues with retaining newcomers. And so, especially in the rural areas, most of the newcomers, when they come to Nova Scotia, they settle in Halifax. But the studies have shown that newcomers who settle in rural areas tend to do better economically. So that's a benefit for the communities, the rural communities they're settling in. So that's one of the reasons why this position was created. So my job specifically is to help with the recruiting, hiring, retention, and ongoing training of newcomers to Nova Scotia. And I'm going to explain a little bit about how we do that. Who we are, ISANS, we served over 10,000 clients last year, almost 4,500 new clients, 90 different countries of client origin. We have 424 government-assisted and privately sponsored refugees, and I know there are quite a few of those in the Valley as well. We serve over 100 different Nova Scotian communities. We have over 300 qualified staff, 64 countries of origin for our staff. 73 languages spoken by the staff. I've only ever heard of one language where we weren't able to meet that. So, I mean, it's pretty impressive that we have that many languages to serve. And we have 746, give or take, volunteers. So that's a huge number, and our volunteers really are a huge, they're just an amazing contribution for us, and we're always looking for more volunteers to help us out. I'm going to be talking about the employer supports. So if you see there, it's the second from the right, and I'll go into a little bit detail of some of the programs that we have to support employers to hire immigrants. My job as an employer engager is to act as a liaison between employers and ISANS, our support programs and services for them, and also to promote the benefit of hiring immigrants, including refugees and the Atlantic Immigration Pilot participants, to strengthen and diversify their workforce. And these are our best practices. So we help employers to build strong and diverse workplaces through qualified candidate referrals, SkillsMatch online recruitment tool, professional practice program, on-site recruitment, workplace culture program, information sessions on the Atlantic Immigration Pilot Project, as well as English in the workplace. And these are just a few of the suite of supports that we have for employers. And I'm not going to talk about all of them, but I hope I'll get to all of them if I can. So what are the benefits of hiring an immigrant? Immigrants bring in international expertise. They often speak several languages. They're willing to listen, learn, and share, serious and committed, maintain professional conduct, flexible and innovative, and readily adapt to changing environments and circumstances. When I talk about the benefits of hiring an immigrant and when I go through this list, I often ask employers to think about entrepreneurial skills. And I think, given my own experience, I lived in Japan for 17 years. I started a business in Japan. I didn't have any supports, but I understand the entrepreneurial spirit that immigrants have. When you're a stranger in a strange land, you have to just make do. And so you'll be pleasantly surprised, I think, when you hire an immigrant, just how their attitude, their willingness to learn, as well as the networks that they may have, which we don't really even know about. I know for myself as well in Japan, I had my network there, and it really helped me a lot. So that's another thing, especially here we are in COVID. If you're an employer and you're looking for networks to supply chains, networks to markets, hiring an immigrant will help you to access those networks and markets. So it's something to think about. Perhaps in the past, hiring an immigrant was more of a short-term hiring strategy because most employers are looking for somebody now. But now that we are in COVID and things are changing, a lot of employers are now pivoting and thinking about their medium and long-term strategies. So I would advise and encourage employers to think about their medium and long-term strategies, where they see themselves in 5 years and how they're going to get there. And I do often see immigrants as being key to those strategies. So thinking not just in practical terms, but also in strategic terms. So the Atlantic Immigration Pilot Project is one of the most popular immigration streams offered right now. And it's an employer-driven program. So that helps to take some of the burden off the Nova Scotia Office of Immigration. And its aim is to hire talented immigrants within a realistic time frame. So pre-COVID, that was about 6 months from start to finish. Now it's a little bit up in the air, but I do know that the Nova Scotia Office of Immigration is working really hard to process the applications. And what it does is it addresses the labor gaps of the employers in the Atlantic provinces, as well as provides a pathway for skilled workers and international graduates who want to live permanently in Atlantic Canada. The international graduates are a real untapped labor pool, so I strongly urge employers to reach out to their colleges, their universities, find out who's around, who's available, because that is a key talent pool for employers that's often overlooked. And we really want those students to stay once they graduate. And they are often more likely to stay because they're familiar with the region, having just you know, spent 4 years getting an undergraduate degree. So they're really a key component. AIP also gives employees access to immigrant settlement support. So we do encourage everyone to register with ISANS, and then they can get those supports. And it also gives employers information and supports. Who is it for? The AIPP is for employers who have a labor gap whose job posting has not been filled in 4 weeks. They also have to provide information on their labor needs to the Nova Scotia Office of Immigration. They have to have a business operating in good standing, and generally that means they should be in business for a minimum of 2 years. And they also have to commit to working with an immigrant settlement service provider organization such as ISANS on settlement and retention. And I should add that in the rural regions, we have the YMCA's YReach, and they handle the rural settlement for the rural regions. So I will often contact Sarah Ehler, who is our YReach person here, and we're doing a lot of collaboration. So that's wonderful to have her here as well. My job is specifically to support the employers. So one of the key tools that we have, and we often, when I talk to employers, I often tell them that ISANS, we are just another tool in their toolbox. But we do have some very innovative tools available to them. And one of them is the SkillsMatch e-recruitment tool. And it's time efficient, confidential, it's free of cost to the employer, and it allows you to access qualified, pre-screened, job-ready candidates. It gives you the opportunity to post jobs and search our database for possible matches. And it also gives the employers the opportunity to learn about other employer support programs. The amazing thing about SkillsMatch is it works off of the knock codes. So once you register and post a job, based on the knock code, you should get matches automatically. And so that's the beauty of it, is that it does the work for you. We've got our employment specialists in Halifax screening everybody, getting them into the database. And so if they're there, you will have access to their resumes, and you can reach out and make an interview and hire them. This is what the start page looks like. I think this is our second version, so we've gone through a few iterations of it. You see our e-recruitment is on the left, e-mentorship, and then there's the login there. So it's, and I will be the one who approves your registration and work with you to get those jobs posted. And then you can also send me the jobs to share with our employment specialists in Halifax if they're not already in the system. Trying to cover all the bases. Again, with the collaboration about this, if they're not in the system, I also will reach out to other community partners in the Valley. We have the Valley African Nova Scotian Development Association, Nova Scotia Works, as I mentioned, YReach, the Valley Wren. So there's such an amazing spirit of collaboration in this area. So it's not just limited to what you see on the screen here. I will be there working behind the scenes with all the other community partners as well. One of the other things that we do predominantly in Halifax, but we're looking to expand to the rural areas. And again, we were speaking earlier about how we would do this virtually, because I think it's something that we could do, is something called the OnSite Recruitment and Information Sessions, or ORIS for short. What this is allows employers to meet with suitable immigrant candidates at ISANS, and it's an opportunity for information exchange and networking, and it ends with face-to-face speed interviews. And quite often people will be hired through these sessions. It can be organized by employer, it can be organized by sector. It's really up to you to figure out with us how we're going to do that. And again, the folks that will be involved with that will be pre-screened and job ready. So you're not going to get anybody who is not a potential good fit or good match for your organization. We've had, over this summer, it's been a tough summer for a lot of people, and we've had a lot of initiatives across North America with the Black Lives Matter movement. And so the workplace culture program has been getting a lot of attention with regards to how employers can create more welcoming and diverse workplaces. This program helps employers to better understand the benefits of hiring international talent, as well as improve the intercultural competence and retain immigrant employees. So this is an amazing program. Paul Pickering is our coordinator who delivers these. I encourage you to reach out to him through me if you're interested. There's a variety of programs that he offers. He will do assessments as well for your organization. It's a program I find, having attended a few of his sessions, it'll leave you thinking for days and days about the stuff that you learn through them. Sometimes it's uncomfortable, but I mean, if there's one thing that we've learned through this COVID experience is that we've kind of got to go outside of our comfort zone sometimes, and that's where the learning really happens, right? We sometimes have to be vulnerable, and that's when we have to stretch and grow. We also have a lot of bridging programs. These are just a few. One of them is the professional practice program. And this is where you have an internationally trained and experienced professional for up to 6 weeks at no cost. So ISANS will cover the insurance for that particular program. And it gives people a chance to get job experience in Canada, sometimes for the first time. But again, we are going to be matching somebody who is relevant to your organization or business. We also have another program for internationally educated engineers. Again, this is a 12-week program, experienced immigrant engineer, no obligation for any of these programs to hire. Some of them can be extended, and they can also be terminated at any time if it's not working out. We also have a trades practical program, and this is where we have internationally trained and experienced tradespeople, again, for the employers for up to 12 weeks at no cost. I believe for some of the programs, ISANS will pay them a stipend, but for the employers, there's no cost, no obligation. So it's a really good option for employers if they're maybe on the fence about hiring newcomers. This will help you to bridge that divide. I'll talk a little bit more about the professional practice program. It connects employers with skilled immigrant professionals through mutually beneficial insured volunteered placements. It's flexible, up to 6 weeks, part or full-time, depending on need. It's low risk. We will insure them against injury in the workplace. It's targeted. They're matched with the employer's needs. It's career focused. So the participants are professionals with related education and skills, and there's no strings attached, no obligation to hire or pay. And like I mentioned before, this can be terminated by either party at any time. One of the things that some employers do quite often is if they have a probationary period, they may try to use this program as part of the probationary period. So we will talk to the employers and work with them on how to best make this work. Our ultimate goal is obviously to get people hired and to help with the retention, but this is often a good first step for employers. We also help with the English in the Workplace program. And this is a free 12-week training program for immigrant employees to help with on-the-job language skills. The training can be done in person or in the workplace or by distance. And the skills are taught are customer service, writing emails, workplace communication, vocabulary. I should add that all of the workplace, English in the Workplace programs, the curriculum is tailor-made to suit the needs of the employer. So if it's a nursing employer, we're going to be teaching nursing specific language. If it's the financial sector, we're going to be teaching financial sector vocabulary and situations. So it's always going to be to meet the needs of the employer and to help the new hire. And it's usually, I think, 2 90-minute sessions per week is generally the session time, and it's during work time. We're always looking for volunteers, and there are lots of volunteer opportunities at ISANS to improve leadership and coaching skills for our participants. We have the professional mentorship program, where we match skilled immigrants with a mentor or similar profession. And we also have the practice interview program. So for a lot of people, and myself included, 17 years in Japan, I got used to Japanese job interviews, where the stuff that you talk about in a Japanese job interview is very different from a Canadian job interview. So newcomers often need practice to get used to the questions that are asked in a Canadian job interview. Even for my interview with ISANS, it was kind of, I felt like a fish out of water for some of it, because I got used to a different way of doing things. I should also add, with the professional mentorship program, one of the benefits of that program for our clients is that it will also help the newcomers to access a network and also share their network. So networking is a key part of that, just to help people to get on their way and connect with their community. So that's it for me, a very lightning round session. And if you have any questions, please fire away.
Absolutely. So I'll start with a question, Jamie.
Mm-hmm.
So I know a little bit about the SkillsMatch project that you guys are doing.
Mm-hmm.
Can you tell me a little bit more about how it's being used in our region right now, and also like the ease of use for that for employers?
Well, it's, everybody's looking for workers, and that's the challenge, I think, is just finding people, and then getting them to come to you. As I mentioned before, immigrants are super motivated to find work, whether they've come here as a government-assisted refugee, or quite often the spouse of another newcomer who maybe came on an economic visa. So we have people in the system who are job ready, pre-screened, and pre-screened is also for language ability. So if they're in our system, it means that they have competent language skills to be working in the Canadian workplace. If they need any extra supports, there's the English in the Workplace program. But our SkillsMatch tool is job-ready pre-screen folks. And like I mentioned earlier, it's based on the NOC code. So if you have your NOC code in the system, it'll give you an automatic match for whoever's in the area. And one of the developments for SkillsMatch, which made it more effective, was we created the option for the immigrants in the system to be willing to relocate. That really changed the system. And if you're a newcomer, you've traveled hundreds, well, I shouldn't say hundreds, more than thousands of kilometers to get to Canada. And you're looking to start your life and make a life in Canada, and specifically in Nova Scotia, you're going to go where the work is. And so it's connecting the employers with the talent, and really facilitating that introduction to each other. And it gives the employers more choice. Because if you're looking for somebody who has, beyond the NOC code match, if you're looking for somebody who has specific soft skills or language abilities, if you're looking to expand your market somewhere, it really gives the employer more choice. So I think that's one of the real benefits. You can browse through the resumes and see who's available. You can also be very specific when you create your job profile, what type of soft skills you're looking for. So I think that's the real benefit. It's just a little bit more extensive than some other job sites.
Absolutely. Yeah. Great. Thanks.
It's fantastic. And certainly, James, ISANS has so many incredible programs available for employers to take advantage of. Loved everything in the bridging programs. I've actually had the opportunity to go through one of the workplace culture programs with Paul Pickering. It was incredible. It was a group of community partners gathered together face to face when we could still gather face to face without any worry. And it was fantastic. So are you able to kind of speak to how that's continuing right now since COVID and just maybe even some of the uptake within the Annapolis Valley?
Well, I think the Annapolis Valley has shown to, I mean, the Annapolis Valley Chamber of Commerce has shown incredible leadership with their anti-racism and discrimination declaration document. That's a phenomenal initiative by them, and then through that initiative and through conversations with the municipality of Kings, Brittany Mastroianni and Judy Rafuse, the executive director of the Annapolis Valley Chamber, we did offer a welcoming workplaces workshop with the chamber. I think we had over 20 participants in that session. It was an amazing session. It's a groundbreaking endeavor, but I mean, it's connecting to the reality of what communities are experiencing, trying to deliver relevant workshops and relevant information for folks to use, because we are all growing and changing, and hopefully in a positive way. And so I think that these workshops are just giving people the tools, because I know a lot of employers, they want to be welcoming, they want to have diverse workforces, but they just don't know how to go about doing that. So the workplace culture program will help you to get that going, and will give you the tools, and you don't need to feel like you're starting from zero.
That's fantastic. And
I
so
hope that answers the question.
Oh,
I'm
yeah,
yeah.
absolutely. And it's really exciting the things that Brittany and Judy have been able to get access, like greater access to the program
Yeah.
throughout the region. So if anyone is interested, they can contact you and you will get them in contact with
Absolutely.
Paul.
Yeah.
Great.
Anytime. I get contacted all the time by folks even on LinkedIn from all over the world, thinking that I'm working for immigration, which I'm not. But I will connect them to the Nova Scotia Office of Immigration. I will get back to anybody. Yeah.
Great.
Awesome. And I want to chat a little bit too, so not necessarily touching on any of the programs with ISANS that you're offering, but just sort of what you have experienced working through the pandemic and through the past few months in a service provider role. So any of like the lessons you've learned or anything that you're especially valuing in this time.
Oh, yeah, it's kind of taken me back. I remember very clearly, because it was March 11th when the pandemic was declared. I was preparing to do a lunch and learn at Acadia University on March 12th, which unfortunately I had to cancel. And the presentation I was about to deliver to them was, I think it was entitled, Climate Change Means Business Climate Change. Well, look where we are now, you know. Um, March 11th actually has a very special meaning for me, not just because that was the day that the pandemic was declared. I was living in Japan on March 11th when the tsunami, earthquake, and nuclear meltdown hit. So March 11th will always have a special meaning for me for that reason, because I was there when that happened and I saw the response of the Japanese through that. So when the pandemic hit, when the declaration was made on March 11th, one of the lessons that I learned from the Japanese experience was just the need for coordination and collaboration. So that really was how I kind of started. You know, this is where we are, and so what do we need? We've got to collaborate. We've got to connect. And so I reached out to everybody. I think that whole weekend I didn't stop working, and so yeah, I mean, moving to the online platform, online delivery of tools and services. I think everybody's had to pivot, and I know I was saying, probably annoying people by saying pivoting is the new normal. But I think that's where we are really, because nobody really knows where we're going to be 2 weeks from now, because that seems to be the time frame that we're moving in right now, is 2 weeks at a time. And things change really quickly. So we have to adapt and change, and also be willing to move quickly at the speed that is required. So I did create an online working platform for myself, as well as some other community partners, and I invited Valley Ren, Nova Scotia Works, Y-Reach. I created the Annapolis Valley Immigrant Business Association Facebook page, specifically to help with the immigrant-owned and operated businesses in the Annapolis Valley, because the data showed at the very beginning of the pandemic that the immigrant-owned and operated businesses throughout Canada were actually the hardest hit. So I saw the need, kind of doubling down on my best customers and helping them. But I also expanded it to help any business in the Annapolis Valley, because many businesses have immigrant workers or are interested in hiring immigrants. And like I've said to Rochelle many times before, we don't win unless we all win. And that's why I thought the Annapolis Valley Immigrant Business Association Facebook page is not just specifically for the immigrant-owned and operated businesses, it's for everyone. And so I'm sharing any funding options, news, information. It's my online working platform now. And everyone's got to get used to Zoom and all the other different platforms that we have. So just being innovative, and realizing that you can't figure it out all on your own. We've got all kinds of amazing partners to work with, and so just that collaboration that we all need to do. And just reaching out, checking in with farmers. Did you get all your temporary foreign workers? How are things going? Just the outreach piece, and letting people know that we're here, and there's lots of resources available for them.
Absolutely. Yeah. I've been following the page since you sort of started it a couple months ago, and some great resources that you've been sharing through there. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you. Well, I mean, it's just sharing what other partners are sharing. Sharing is caring.
And Jamie, I just want to kind of shine a light on just how collaborative you've been, and I think it gets to be a little bit, it can be contagious, right? That recognizing that when there's multiple organizations, we all have something unique to offer, and together we do build a stronger community and region. And I think with your page, you've shown sort of the need for adapting, adjusting, and innovating. And I think one of the things that we've had conversations about in the past is that another benefit to hiring newcomers is they bring a new perspective. And so as businesses and companies look to innovate, they're going to tap into some folks that can bring new innovation to the workplace.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, if I can make a comparison to Japan again, Japan has a very, very low immigration rate, to their detriment, unfortunately. They really need to change that. But when I talk about like a community, or even if I use the term ecosystem, any ecosystem that doesn't have that refreshing aspect, whether it's refreshing of resources, human resources included. I like to think of the image of like a pond, in nature. And when you have that fresh, input of other resources or ideas, that is going to contribute to the survival and the thriving of that ecosystem. And so having new people and new ideas, like that famous quote, we can't solve the problems of today using the solutions of yesterday. We need we need the fresh ideas. We need just to be thinking outside the box. And I think immigrants really help with that. And again, I was contributing to my community in Japan in a very similar way by bringing my ideas and, you know, my way of doing things, hopefully in a respectful way. So that's part of the workplace culture program, you know, way of sharing, because, you know, there is a workplace, and the employer needs to know that they are creating their own culture within the workplace. So it doesn't mean they have to give up what's important to them. So yeah, just having that understanding and finding the middle ground, and keeping it in a balanced way.
Right.
Yeah. Any other questions?
I think that covers it for me. Yeah, lots of information, lots of good stuff.
Well, thank
Yeah.
you so much. Yeah.
Absolutely. So thank you both. Taylor joining us with the Connector program, and James. And I think we've left your contact up on the screen. And so certainly we'd encourage any employer, even if they're just curious about your services, to connect with you. You're a wealth of information. And thank you so much for speaking with us today.
Thank you. It was an honor.